8 months off, injury layoff, fighting a flu, benched in 4 out of 5 games, and Caitlin Clark still walks away as the youngest MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history. Let that sink in for a second, because this isn't just a comeback story. This is about what happens when you can't keep a player like Clark off the floor, no matter how hard some coaches tried. Today, we're breaking down exactly how she did it. The Spain game, the stats that dominated the whole tournament, and why 2026 already looks dangerous for anyone facing the Indiana Fever and Team USA in the World Cup. The last game against Spain started very close. Spain came in with a plan, and for a while it was actually working. Was pushing the pace, getting into the paint and making Team USA uncomfortable. Yawa Pham, who's going to be a top WNBA draft pick, was scoring and holding her own against elite competition. Yana Martinez, who's just 20 years old, was distributing and defending at a level that had Team USA's starting unit genuinely unsettled. The score kept flipping back and forth in that first quarter. And by the time the second quarter started, it was tied against a Team USA squad that had been rolling through this tournament. And Caitlin Clark was sitting on the bench. Every single one of these games had a different starting lineup. And that's the part that had fans losing their minds on social media. 4 out of 5 games this tournament, Clark came off the bench instead of starting.
It's high everywhere in the world.
And Caitlin Clark immediately making an impact for Team USA. Her first foul of the game, and it'll be Italy ball on the sideline.
Spain was hanging around, the offense looked slow, and the best playmaker on the roster was watching. People were asking the same question out loud: why? Why is your floor general not on the floor right now? Spain was running a soft box and one and mixing in zone looks, and Team USA's starting unit had no real answer for it.
Clark off the re-screen, sidestep, deep three, and there's Caitlin Clark for her first triple of the game, and it's the class.
The ball movement was sticky. The pace was slow. It looked like they were playing in mud, honestly. Then Clark checked in, and the moment she steps on the floor, the whole tempo of the game just shifts. Where the starting unit was getting bottled up by Spain's blitz defense, Clark was turning that pressure into fast breaks. She was reading the defense before it even set, finding the kick-out passes, pulling up from
Showing by Santucci, especially against KP.
Italy is showing a zone now. 9 seconds to shoot. Inside to Billings. Billings, the reverse off the glass is good.
Logo range and forcing Spain's defenders to chase her all the way out to half court. When you have to guard someone that far from the basket, your whole defensive structure starts to break down. And Clark knows exactly how to exploit that. One source close to the team said Clark really got us going, and that she brings this dynamic play to the offensive end. That's not hype. That's what showed up on the scoreboard. Every meaningful scoring run Team USA put together in that game happened with Clark on the floor.
Caitlin Clark doing her best Chelsea Gray impression. What a finish! Showing the handle.
The final score was 84-70, but that number actually undersells how competitive this game was before she took over. Spain was good. Pham and Martinez are real players. The fact that Clark came in and made it look manageable is more impressive because of that, not less. She also played more minutes than anyone else on the entire Team USA roster in this tournament. Not just the Spain game, the whole thing. So, the player they kept benching to start games was also the player they couldn't afford to take off the floor once she was in. Picture this: a player comes off the bench in 4 out of 5 games and still leads the entire team in minutes played.
The crew come in, and I really like the lineup that played. Caitlin was the first sub off the bench. She hasn't started yet, but immediately came in off the bench and scored. As soon as she checked in, she got a bucket, like within seconds. She was the 6th woman in this one. She's one of the players who hasn't started yet, but who cares? But comes in, you see Jackie handling, and Caitlin gets the ball, calls for it, passes it off.
She also leads the team in assists, plus minus, and efficiency. That's not a bench player catching fire for a week. That's something completely different. So, let's just lay the numbers out. Clark averaged 11.6 points per game across 5 games. She dished out 6.4 assists per game, which adds up to 32 total assists across the tournament. She led Team USA in 2-point field goal percentage, free throws made, and free throws attempted.
It off to Santucci, who just subbed in, as well as Angel Reese for Team USA, getting action on the floor now. Zandalicini pops up, no good, big.
And she did all of that while playing more minutes than anyone else on the roster. The player they kept benching to start games was also the player logging the most time on the floor. Those two facts sitting next to each other don't make any sense unless you just look at what happened every time she was actually out there. Here's where it gets interesting, the plus-minus number. Clark didn't just lead Team USA in plus-minus. She led the entire tournament. Every team, every player, every nation competing in Puerto Rico.
Brings it up against Brea Fico. Clark off the Reese screen. Sidestep, deep three! And there's Kaylin.
Was on the floor, Team USA outscored opponents by a margin that nobody else in the whole field could touch. You can argue about role and fit and system all day long, but plus-minus just tells you what the scoreboard did while a player was out there. And the scoreboard loved Clark. The efficiency rating backs that up, too. Across all competing nations in this tournament, Clark's efficiency number put her at the top of the field.
To set something up off the Hamby screen, dishes it into Hamby. Hamby makes that one look easy. What a give and go between.
Top of Team USA, the top of everyone, and the assist number is worth slowing down on. 6.4 assists per game at a FIBA qualifying tournament is a serious number. Guards at this level playing against organized international defenses that are specifically designed to take away the pass, averaging over 6 assists a game, is genuinely hard to do. Clark was doing it coming off the bench, getting fewer early game possessions than a starter and still finding teammates at that rate, and the free throw numbers tell their own story, too. Getting to the line consistently means you're attacking, you're drawing contact, and you're forcing defenses into hard choices. That's not a player sitting in a limited role and waiting for open looks. That's a player who's actively hunting advantages on every single possession.
Page. Just thought you were a little faster.
Yeah, and I think Santucci called the glass too, so we give a double value to that shot.
So, here's what the full stat sheet actually says. The coaching decisions and the data were pointing in completely opposite directions all tournament long. The player leading the team in nearly every meaningful category was also the player watching the opening tip from the bench in 4 out of 5 games. That tension is impossible to look away from, and the numbers make it impossible to defend. 8 months off the floor, benched to start 4 out of 5 games, and she still walked away as the youngest MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history. So, let's actually sit with that for a second. This wasn't FIBA handing Clark a trophy because she's the biggest name in women's basketball right now. The MVP was based on 5 full games of data, 11.6 points per game, 6.4 assists per game. Plus-minus and efficiency numbers that no other player in the entire field could touch. Every team, every nation, every player who showed up in Puerto Rico, Clark topped them all. To add to that, this is actually her second MVP award in a FIBA-sanctioned tournament. The first one came back in 2021 when she led the USA U19 team. So, she's done this before at a younger age, and now she's done it again, coming off a major injury layoff with experimental lineups and coaching decisions working against her the whole way through.
Nate Tibbetts is a better coach than Kara Lawson. Kara Lawson wasn't present, which I thought was odd.
Star 5 selection that came alongside the MVP isn't just a bonus. It means the people whose entire job is to evaluate international basketball on a technical level looked at this tournament and landed in the same place the numbers did. Clark was the most impactful player on the floor across all 5 games. That's not a popularity vote. That's a basketball judgment. And the youngest ever part matters because of what it actually means going forward. She's still getting better.
I thought Puerto Rico played very, very hard. and they played hard the entire time. They challenged us with their effort, and I thought they made a lot of hustle plays to create baskets for themselves. And this was more of an uneven game for us on both ends. We talked about it as a team, and I thought we had some good spots, but I also thought we had some rough spots, and that's good. It's good to have rough spots sometimes. You're able to kind of figure some things out, and we're still figuring things.
That's the part that should make every Indiana Fever fan genuinely excited rather than just relieved she made it through the tournament healthy. So, let's talk about what comes next, because Puerto Rico didn't happen in a vacuum. The floor general skills Clark sharpened running Nate Tibbetts' offense in this tournament, the pick-and-roll reads, the outlet passes, the pace she was pushing, all of that comes back to Indianapolis with her.
I thought the game was a little clunky. I felt like we probably didn't play our best. I thought Paige played really well, but it felt good. I mean, I obviously probably didn't shoot it as well as I would have liked. I think their zone kind of threw us off. I thought it kind of slowed down our pace a little bit. We didn't get as much in transition, so I think if like another team plays zone, just continue to play with a lot of pace and don't let them set these out.
Tibbetts ran over these 5 games is basically a working preview of what a healthy, fully empowered Clark-led Fever team could look like for a full WNBA season. Fast, guard-heavy, built around Clark initiating everything from the top of the key. And then there's Berlin. The 2026 World Cup and the 2026 WNBA season are now connected in a way they weren't before this tournament.
Kelsey Plum, Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Reinhardt, and Angel Reese, and how did that group impact the flow of the game?
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. This is a group that hasn't been together very long. We've kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first 2 games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch at some of them got a little bit tired. But yeah, I love the creativity. I love the shooting with that group.
Clark proved she can anchor a fast guard offense at the international level right after a serious injury kept her off the floor for 8 months. That's not a small thing. A lot of players come back from long layoffs and need half a season just to find their legs. Clark came back and led the whole tournament in plus-minus and efficiency.
Another thing I noticed is that Caitlin Clark was used a lot in this game, and I'm glad she was. She did pretty well. I'm surprised she wasn't player of the game. I thought she should have been player of the game, but they gave her Chelsea Gray. Whatever. I don't know who makes these decisions. They're not good.
The chemistry she built with Paige Buchers over these 5 games in Puerto Rico is going with both of them to Berlin. And international defenses are going to have a real problem on their hands. Let's talk about what actually changed when Nate Tibbetts took over, because it's not subtle. It's right there on the tape. Lawson's approach to Clark was basically to use her off the ball, spread the minutes, keep the offense balanced, and not let any one player dominate the system. On paper, that sounds like smart roster management. On the floor, it looked like Team USA was deliberately putting the brakes on their own offense. And Lawson was mysteriously absent from the Spain game entirely, but her fingerprints were all over the early parts of this tournament. The conservative rotations, the cautious lineups, the fact that Clark was watching opening tips from the bench while opponents hung around, Tibbetts did something different. Heavy lineups, faster tempo, and Clark actually initiating the offense instead of spotting up on the wing waiting for someone to find her. The results were immediate. Look at the Italy game. Clark was running pick and roll after pick and roll, making reads before the defense could even react, finding the open man on the short roll, pushing the pace in transition off made and missed baskets. Italy had no answer for it, because there's no good answer when Clark is making decisions that fast at the top of the key. And then the New Zealand game happened.
Angel Reese is playing the point guard. She's not looking Caitlin Clark's way one time, deliberately not passing her the ball.
That's where you could really see what Tibbetts was building. Clark started that game, the first time all tournament she was in the opening lineup, and played 23 minutes, the most on the team, with Buchers alongside her and Kelsey Plum spacing the floor. Team USA didn't just win, they suffocated New Zealand completely. That lineup was so hard to guard because Clark and Buchers can both score and pass, so defenses have to pick their poison on every single possession. Stephanie White's preference for a slower pace is also part of this picture. Clark has talked about the cause and effect right there on the stat sheet. Are you ready for the part of this tournament that might actually matter most for the next 2 years?
I'm going to ask that, do you feel like some of the mistakes that you guys made was something that Puerto Rico was doing, or were some of them also a little self-inflicted?
I think it was mostly self-inflicted. I thought we missed some FIBA coverages, and then I think especially with how much we fouled too, like it really limits us, especially in transition when we want to play fast. And, it's hard to push, especially off of the main free throws we're sitting in the press.
It was obviously a big win by a large margin for Team USA, but what can you say about what you saw about Team Puerto Rico tonight?
Yeah, I thought they played with a lot of fire. I thought they were aggressive. I thought the crowd was incredible. The fans were great, so it's a really fun environment.
Because Clark and Paige Buchers didn't just play well together in Puerto Rico. They built something. And international defenses are going to have a real problem with it. These two came into this tournament having barely played together, different teams, different systems, different roles their whole careers. But by the time the Spain game rolled around, they were reading each other in real time. Clark would push the pace off a rebound and Buchers already knew exactly where to be. Buchers would come off a screen and Clark was already loading the pass before Buchers even cleared the defender. That kind of stuff usually takes a full season to develop. They did it in 5 games.
Yeah, I think taking care of the ball is probably going to be our main focus. I think we could have moved the ball a little bit better. I don't know how many assists we had, but I thought we could have probably passed the ball a little bit better. I think about these games, the paint was really, really long, and we want to get easy finishes at the rim, but I think also getting paint would be ready to get out of it.
And would you say that it was due to Puerto Rico's defense or just offense not falling?
Puerto Rico did a great job, but also I think we can be better off.
The two-man game they were running is genuinely hard to guard because both of them can score and both of them can pass. So when a defense collapses on Clark at the top of the key, Buchers is getting a kick-out 3. And when a defense tries to follow Buchers through a screen, Clark is reading the rotation and finding the open cutter. There's no right answer for a defense when two players that good are making decisions that fast together. Analysts were calling it flat-out unguardable, and watching the film, it's hard to argue. Now, the Angel Reese situation early in this tournament was real, and it's worth talking about. Honestly, Reese is most effective when she's getting post touches and operating in a half-court set where she can muscle for position. When Tibbetts shifted the system toward a faster, guard-heavy tempo, that dynamic changed. Early on, you could see the friction in how possessions were playing out. The ball was living in Clark and Buchers' hands, and Reese wasn't getting the same kind of involvement she's used to with a transition-heavy system. Actually ended up finding a role for Reese that worked.
Talked about doing different lineups, different rotations, test out those that chemistry. Just how did you feel tonight, yesterday, with all those different rotations?
I think it's going to be a work in progress with everybody trying to kind of find the flow a little bit, especially when we're going 5 in, 5 out. But, you got to be flexible. It's kind of what USA basketball is all about. Some games you're going to play less, some games you're going to play as much. You might come off the bench, you might start. So you got to be ready when your number's called. I think everybody's done a good job of that. And we don't even know the starting lineup until we're in the locker room before the game. So you just get ready and go out and play.
She is one of the best rebounders in the game, so in a faster system, she becomes the engine that starts the break. She grabs the board, outlets to Clark, and sprints the floor as a rim runner. That's a real job in a fast offense. And by the Spain game, that's basically what was happening. The tension from the early games had settled into something functional. So, the system change didn't just unlock Clark, it helped Reese find where she fit within it, too. And Buchers was already built for that kind of pace. What Clark and Buchers have right now is a foundation. They've got pick-and-roll chemistry, transition reads, and trust in each other's decision-making. And they built all of that in 1 week in Puerto Rico. Berlin is going to be a whole different problem for whoever has to guard them. 8 months off, benched 4 out of 5 games, and Clark still led the entire tournament in plus-minus and efficiency, then walked away with the MVP youngest ever. That's not a story about overcoming odds. That's just what she does when you finally let her run. Indiana Fever fans, Team USA fans, Puerto Rico was a preview. When Clark has the keys to the offense, the ceiling on both of those teams is something we genuinely haven't seen yet.